If the wind was in our sails, we'd be all right. If the wind was in our sails, we'd be all right. If the wind was in our sails, and
G'day folks. A charcoal drawing, gridding a picture up. Okay, divide this in half, and in half. This is the picture I'm doing in charcoal, which I've done with blue ink, divided in half and half and half. It's a picture of Polperro in Cornwall in the UK, popular tourist village at night with lamps on, etc., and the trees in the dark sky. So I'll stick it back on the board, if I can find the pins that I put down. Where did I put them? Hey, oh, there they are. They're already in there. Yeah. So, look, charcoal drawings. I always liked Edward Hopper's preparatory drawings, and I still like his preparatory drawings for his paintings, his nighttime images in charcoal, the motel at night, etc. This is a charcoal drawing by an American guy, Jeremy Mann. Night scene in it looks like a misty, rainy downtown somewhere. This drawing here, another night scene. It's reminiscent of a couple of Seurat's. Seurat, I like the charcoal drawings, preparatory drawings for the famous paintings. This is a night scene with a moon and a figure, just a couple of marks walking down street. I put this on Picasso web and turned it into a brown, sepia, sanguine, or whatever they're called. This is another rainy, stormy, nighty day by David Carpanini in Wales, smudged and moved charcoal. I'm going to do this in black charcoal. And you could do this in red pastel, blue pastel, different tones of blue to get the darks or the reds. Excuse me. But because I always say it's up to you. Need a swig of tea. I'm going to do it in black charcoal. Down here, I've got a couple of charcoal pencils, even a white charcoal if needed, some rubbers. I like to use compressed charcoal, which these. So they're a sort of a grey black, and that's a black. There are some willow charcoals. I'm a bit brutal and press hard, so I tend to break them a lot. There are many sorts. It's up to you. Okay, whoops, I forgot my measuring stick, so I'll just use a brush. So with the charcoal stick, I'm just very softly, I'm looking at the proportions of this rectangle compared to there. So it doesn't matter exactly where. I'm not doing a commission for somebody who lives in this house. So I'm going to do a sort of rough line where this bank, and then it sort of comes out here, and where the boats are, I'm going to bring them slightly down. I'm going to stretch it a little bit more. So instead of the jetty or wharf starting here, I'm going to start it about here, and I'm putting the line. See, it goes from there up to about there, which is on this step. Now here, there's a boat. Now there's slipway or something, and it goes on an angle up. Now, as I said in the other videos, you can use a measuring stick that I talk about in my life classes. If you want the angle exact, you put that against that angle, because this is parallel to here, so I can take that angle and look at it. So I've got the rough shape. Now the first house up here, again, if I want the angle of the roof to be exact, I can take that and not deviate, right? So I take that and move it across to where it is, okay? But I'm going to do this freehand. So I look at the house, look at the slope of the roof there, and this. There's a certain amount of perspective going over to a vanishing point, but I'm not concerned about this. What I want is that you're looking up. So this angle and this angle of the roof, now there, if you're looking at it sort of straight out, they're almost level, but because you're looking up, this corner, which is down here, this slope. Now, look at the slope. I am going to even, so I look at the slope of the corner of the roofs there, right? Now I can come even down a little bit more. And then there's a little extension. So this now is parallel to there and there. So now the light, which is there, so I bring that. How far down this house goes, I'm going to leave that. As I said, I'm slightly lowering it. So this row of houses in the photograph, it's slightly below, and I'm going to take it even more below and start there. Now there's a gentle slope of perspective. They're not quite in line, but the slope generally is like that. So I look at the slope and about here, and the first house here finishes just almost above there. I look at the angle of the roof, all fairly, except it gets steeper there as it goes away. I can just see that angle, so I can bring it across and do that. Now, as I said, I've lowered it, but I'm going to put the roof up to there. Now the other one keeps going a bit, so, and that's a little bit lower, so that goes to there. It's sort of almost directly below this. So if I want the angle, I can do that, but I'm just going to do it there. And then there's another roof, it's slightly above, does that to this angle. And this roof comes down to this corner. So I have that. And then there's a vertical. And then there's the other group of houses, which I'm going to stop about there. And I'm squeezing them up into there. And then they rise up through here into there. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. So I've got the rough shape already through there. And there are sort of a couple of chimneys there, a little bit of light, and so forth. Now up here is a little bit of dark that goes up. There's another house up here, but I can't be bothered with that. This is all dark. So I'm going to take this ridge through there a bit. Okay, so I'm building up the shape. Now, down here, the boats. Now, I'm sketching, but I don't want them to totally be that, so I'm going to do just a couple of marks at the moment, and I'm just doing shapes. They are sitting in this way, so the general shape of the boats there. There's a boat shape here, and then there's a boat moored in there. I look at the shape of the stern and all the bits and pieces, the cabin marks in there, little dots through there, that's all dark. There's a little dinghy sitting there, and this boat with the mast. I'm going up to this house here, so from this angle I change the pencil shape, so I'm holding that. I mean, I can count the windows, but I was going to put, don't make them too big. This is what happens a lot. It goes almost up to the soffit boards where the roof, and then there's another thin one in there, and one there. I've missed one out. And then there's a couple of windows here, and a window there, and another protrusion. And there's a window on this slope. Look, it's way down there, right? And this shape. So I'm going to pull that in a bit. I was a bit long, but I'll do that with the other charcoal. Here, there are windows in here, and there are windows there. So I've done enough, okay, for the drawing. What I want is the reflection. See this building here, there's a light in there with this reflection in the water, and this one up there with the bright against the dark. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is the sky. So I'm going to take a bit of willow charcoal to start with. I've been using it a lot, so you see it flat there. This is heavyweight sugar paper. It's got a little bit of a tooth, so it accepts charcoal fairly well. Okay, so I'm just rubbing this in. Rub that in. Now, I take my fingers and smudge it up. And I've got tape here, masking tape, and as I said in a previous video, I've rubbed it against I've got a paint penny thing or whatever it's called, and I rub it to lessen the tack. Okay, so I've got a bit of that. Sometimes this board has had demos on it, so it's a little bit rough. So that's the willow. I'm going to take a bit of compressed charcoal and rub in sort of sideways marks going this way for the clouds. So I'm sort of this way, sort of lazy big S shapes. Okay, so I'm going to smudge that in right up to the top, round and round. Some of the marks will still be there. Dark sky, how dark you do it, it's up to you. So rub, push it into this makes a neater edge when you remove that. So now I'm taking a bit of white chalk. Okay, so I'm just sort of do the same. And there's a light up here, so I'm sort of rubbing it in, and it turns into a lovely grey. So, and if I want a bit more light, I press harder, but I'm doing these sort of shapes. Some people do get literally carried away, and you get sort of, I'm doing the underneath of the clouds. And it's a bit lighter on the top of the hill here, behind there, these shapes. And grey, how dark you do it is up to you. So that's given a bit, maybe I'm going to put a little bit more white just where the sun has gone down there, and a little bit here. And rubbing it gives a different texture. So I think that's okay. Back to the compressed charcoal. These lovely pine trees up here. You can see, hopefully, I don't know if you can in the light, how dark that is. This is sort of a grey-black. They're both advertised as black, but this is a beautiful, rich black. But I'm going to put that aside and use this to these trees. Now, I'm just going to make sort of shapes and marks. I'm pushing in, look, see, I'm wiggling it, or even little round shapes. I'll get down there so you can see. I'm going to lift this tree up a bit more and spread. I'm pressing quite hard. Good exercise. So little bits in here are rolling it, maybe up here a bit more. Expressive, and then a few sort of shapes down there. And then there's a bit coming up here. So shapes, not how you make a mark. And these are marks. I'm rolling the charcoal around, and then there's another one here. So push that up. It's got a sort of a bit of a windblown look. Up there, out there. Make some shapes there. And a mark. I'm going to go make it a little bit higher. And I like that little bit petering out, so I'll put that shape. And there's another one up here, little tree, so I'll make a shape. And now I'm going to pull down some of the branches or trunks and just pull them down. I'm not doing every one. And now I'm going to use the side of the charcoal to make marks. I'm just hitting it. Now I'll pull down or push up, and a little bit there, these trunks, and bend that, and another one there, and another one here. Put those shapes, how much, marks there. Okay, so now I'm going to do the ridge. I mean, that's up and down. You could sort of make up your own shape. So I'm going up, a little bit of fairy stuff, a couple of other marks, dark here, up and down, cross, going up to where that other little tree is, and pull this down. You can see the light of the sun over the ridge. As I said, I've missed out that house there, and then maybe another trunk going up there, and that disappearing, a few other little marks through here, and then this trunk there, one with a bit of a bend into it. So, and there's a smudge, there's another smudge of a tree there, and now I'm dark. I'm going to go back, I'm sort of exaggerating the curve to go back up the hill here. So I'm using the side of the charcoal. It's a bit softer up here. I've left a little bit of the white of the paper, put some marks there. I'm going to steepen this bank a little bit and pull this charcoal through all the way down here. Now I want the dark at the edge of that, so coming down to the houses, it's dark behind here. There is a chimney there, so I'm going to go up and across, and there, make a little bit thinner there, and then use the edge of the charcoal to come down and to there, and now I fill in up to chimney and roll the charcoal. It's still texture where that. Now there's a bank comes here, and that's the end of that little extension. I'm using the side of the charcoal up and down now. The marks around the house. There's another little chimney there, so I could use the pencil, but I want a little bit more expressive, so I quite like the edges aren't absolutely spot on. So I have to put a couple of marks for the pots up there, go into there and across on that angle and fill in this. And there's a pot up there, so I come in like that with a little bit, and it's all crooked, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to smudge some of this, even my fingers on the horizon, down into here, up against the tape, into there, and across here, and I'm pushing it up with my fingers, up, there. Now the light, this is where the light is starting, so I'm going to go back down here and go around this house, slightly under the overhang. There's a chimney there, so I go into that and across there and up into there. Now I use the edge and push it up and in there. Now I'm going to sort of make some little marks up there, shapes. So up to these chimneys. So what have I got there? There. That house is that one. And this one is this one. So now I'm going to go around that chimney. There's a couple of chimneys, so make that one bigger or higher up there. Now I'm going to soften off this, but darken against the chimney into there. Now I go to the roof, and I'm going to go upwards a bit, leaving this light. Now behind the house here, go up, come down this roof, hard here and soft there, right? Soft. And now I want to come in around this. I'm sort of, there's all these sort of starbursts because of the photograph, but I want a little bit more, just the light. Okay, so I'm look at my fingers. So I'm going to just tap and tap and tap and tap. I could do little cross-hatching marks, but this is okay. So just tapping up here gently. fingerprints. I'm sort of scratching my fingers through it, a few marks through there. Now, the roof is darker, it's tiled, so I'm going to take my fingers and just smudge this bit of the roof. It's a little bit lighter where the light is. I'm just going to smudge the chimney into there. Take the charcoal and just make a line starting there and go along and peter it out. Now this side of the house is in a little bit darker, and I'm just covering this as a shadow off this building, so I pull that down because there's another light somewhere here shining on this side. So I'm going to take some charcoal from there, and this roof a little bit darker than the house, it's white with that, but this little bit on here, so I'm going to smudge in across here and down there, and smudge up there and smudge through there. Now with the charcoal there's a little bit of shadow there, and I'm going to put a mark for a window there, and a mark for a window there, and a mark for a window there. The little bay window, it's got shadow, so I pull that there. And I'm going to darken it just with a couple of marks there, pull down a window and a window, and the other bay there, I put a mark and a wiggle for the top of the bay window and just scratch it. There's another window. I'm not going to put all of them, I'm going to put one there in the shape. So, and there's another window here, so I'm just going to put a wiggle with a pencil, with a charcoal. Now these roofs here, so I'm just going to smudge that. Take some of the charcoal and go back. Now the house is white, but it's sort of not as bright as that. So I'll come back to that. This roof again, soft on the chimneys over there, and this roof a bit higher, so I'm smudging that. And this roof I'm just going to pull the charcoal down and smudge over there, the line of the roofs. Now back up to here. Now I'm going to pull down, this is all quite smudged in here, the light, and it comes down. So now I take the charcoal and make some marks up. There are a few perpendicular things going up, and the guttering, so I'm going to put that on an angle, the roof, and very gently, just very gently, I'm pulling down very gently, okay, and very gently here, and smudging. Take a little bit of that and I'm smudging across, and some of the texture from underneath comes through, which I like. So I'm stopping there because the lights are on in this house. So I'm going to take a little bit of an angle, not putting everything in. I mean, that angle there, there are windows in here, so a little bit darker, one there, and a mark there, and some windows there. All I'm doing is just going up and down with the charcoal, very gently. I'm going to put a door there, right down to there, and a couple of little dots. And now, under where the guttering is, I do a line on an angle through there, and there are windows here, so I'll go up and down through there. There's a group of windows here, so all I'm going to do is just go up and down with a charcoal, and I'm going to put another door here, shapes, and now this bank goes up, and then there's marks, and it comes down to where the boat is. So I'm going to leave that shape there, and I'm going to bring it down to this white chimney, and a little bit darker there, and I'm going to go around that chimney. It's a bit lower. Well, I've made it lower, and there's a line there, and then this roof. Okay, so this is the darker roof here. There's a bit of a shape to it, but I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to make some dark marks across that. This face of the building here, this building is darker, so I'm just going to bring down some charcoal to there, to there, to there. But there's a light on here, so it's about here, so I'm going to lift up and down, and the light I'm going to put there, so go around it here, and I'll stop there, and a little bit there, just to bring the light on through there, and put that mark. Now, so up here, and I've just left out a little bit for the shapes. So I'm going to put a light on in this, and a window here. Okay, so just here I missed a bit, so apologize. I'm going to take the rubber and rub this light out, and now I like that, so I'm going to put a light in this window. I'm going to rub it out. So the light down there. Now I go underneath and smudge it a little bit darker around the light, and I'm going to put a light on up there, sorry, window there. Pull this down a bit, tap it for texture. This is all crisp and clean, but so I'm just going around that light, which I'll put a little bit of a reflection, but that's the one up there that I want. And I'm going to rub out a little bit there of that light. So, and this is the light that's reflecting, so I'm going to make that more and darken it even more in there, and some shapes. Now along this building it's all rough, so I'm going to rub it up and down to where that light is, and around that light, and up here, just to get the texture first. Now I'm going to, I like marks that the rubber makes, so I'm going to just pull it down, see, slightly different mark, and then across the texture, or this way, up and down, or even that up to this window. I want the window to be the lightest bit there. Shapes. Okay, rough. Now go back, put some marks through there, put a shape in there. I'm going to put some windows here. I'm going to make that one sort of semi on here. So put a shape, and then this one can be in the dark up there above this window, a bit bigger. And I'm missing out, maybe there is a small window there somewhere, and a dot there. Now down there. So I've missed out two of them. I could put, you see, rubber works. If I rub out there, give two windows with a, so it gives a semi light. Now I'm going to take the dark along here, so I'm now rubbing into here and curling it and curling it and around these boats. So I'm just leaving some of the white of the shapes, right there, around there, and around there. And there are things or nets or something hanging over there, so I'll leave this. This is dark here going up. Peter it out a bit. And around this white boat, so I'll look at the shape, go there, up there somewhere, and out there. Just a line for it's sitting, there's a dinghy in there somewhere, maybe I put two dinghies. So it's just tonal first. I want the light here, right, where this light is coming down. So I go up to the edge there and pull that in. And maybe the thing now, I'm going to just push this into the light. I'm exaggerating some of the light. Okay, a little bit of dark there. Excuse me. Dark there. So I've pulled the boats. Maybe the tide's come in a bit. So I want this light. So I'm going to put little bits of the white of the paper there. And now there's a little bit. So see, look, wiggling. It's this thing. Does it look like a boat? Well, don't know. There are boats together. So I'm putting some marks. But a little bit darker back there. This is where the light is. And here. So I'm going to pull the charcoal this way for the body of the boat, and then a mark there, and there are windows, so I put a few marks there, and there's something inside the boat. It's so dark it joins into there, and then there's the top of this one. Now there's a little bit of light hitting there, the stern, so I just make a mark, and it's dark on that side where the bodywork. There's a little bit of mark in there, and I put a cabin shape, and now dark where the water is on these angles, so that look at that wiggle and squiggle, but in context I hope it will be a boat. So there's a stern stuff here, and under this light I'm going to darken the basic shape of the boat over the stern down here, darken that, and I'm just going to peter that out. I can see something. There's a cabin window in there, and there are bits and pieces of things on the boat, so I'm just going to do a shape. Now I'm going to darken it around the edge. There's another darker boat moored under here, so I'm just going to pull down. So I've got the shapes there. Now, the water. This is where I want the light. Sort of just, it's middle there. So there's one up there, but that doesn't reflect in there. It's this light here. So from this boat, I'm now going to pull down the water. And just sort of peter it out there and go across. There's the middle of the page. So now with this soft and about there to come down again. Edvard Munch loved light reflections. He made shapes of them. So you can see here and up there. Now I'm coming down. And now I'm going to zigzag across a bit. From here, it's darker here, up to this boat. So I use the edge of the charcoal and I go across. And then peter it out a bit. And across. There are marks going across the reflection. A little bit of wind or something now going across there. Zigzags. A little bit darker here, so I turn it round. That smudge shape in there. Now I'm going to take my finger and just go across it, up and down. Here. And marks. Now, a little bit under the boat, soft. And then here, with marks, and then smudged across. Into there, smudge. The side of these boats aren't all in light, so I tap them. Want the light there, I tap that. And this side here, I'm going to tap it to put it into shade. Okay, so I've got the basics now. I'm going back to the pencil and a few sort of little tidy ups here and there and marks. The house is that further away, so I like the softness. I'm going to put a few just little shapes. There's a door there, so I put a mark and this sort of disappears in there, maybe a little bit sharper up there, and a mark, and maybe a little bit darker for the window there, and this shadow, and I'm going to darken it up here a bit. I am going to use the edge and just pull it out a bit so the light isn't the strongest up there, and a few marks, shapes, and a little bit darker in here coming into the light up to there. Maybe just sort of soften it a bit and maybe darken this a bit. It's all about dramatics. And maybe the shadow there, and tap it so it disappears. Now here I'm going to go up with some darks to get maybe the light is sort of shining down or across here up to there, and this texture in here, take the drawing and put maybe this is a gutter pipe down there, just a little mark and a few little wiggles and squiggles, broad marks this way, and this sort of the shape of the window, so I go in there with marks up and down. It's a length window where that one is light, a little bit of light. I do a couple of cross hatchings, some marks. This one here where the light is on, I'm now going to go up to it, put the edge and just sort of soften it in there a bit, and down here where the light is, a few little marks, and press it in the shape. So here I'm going to soften all this up and down, just looking at the tones. As I said, that dinghy is in shadow, so I go over that. The rear of this boat is almost lost. There's a block of dark and some dark and some reflections through there. Now I'm going to take the rubber and rub across this. There's some marks, maybe a line or two, a few ripples in the water with the rubber, and smudge across here and down to the edge, and maybe there's a little bit of a reflection there, so I could go up and down. See with the reflection of the cottages, but there, and up and down here. You decide. Across, pattern, marks, shapes, maybe a few bits here. Drag the rubber, pull it down here. Look at that mark for the boat, the reflection. Pulling the rubber down. Shapes. Now I'm going to make this boat darker in there. And the stern. And a few things in this boat. Now this yacht. So put the window a little bit darker there. And up. And darken that. Tonally darken that. Now this boat, across the stern, the window there, it disappears in there. I'm going to darken that window. Now I'm going to pull down this. I want that one of the main one, so I'm going to pull down this reflection about there, the rubber, and make a mark there. So now with the pencil, see I'm holding it a little bit more. I'm going to put a window here, just going up and down and across. Maybe there's a little bit of a pokey out bit there. Down here there's another window. I go across. I'm going to put another window there. I'm not even looking at the picture much. I'm going to put another window above that. I'm going to darken under the boards a little bit there, and bring this top of the house down a bit there. Maybe that's a bit lower than that house. I don't know. And another window here. Little shape couple of marks in there. It's a bigger window, a few there, little mark there. There's something sitting here. So I'll do a shape, some marks, slim up this window there, sort of put a few shapes and thin that down. I'm going to take and just go up a little bit, that shape, dot it, a couple of marks. So nearly done there, shapes there. Now I've got a single bladed razor blade and I want to pull out the yacht's mast. It's about there. We'll see what happens. So I'm just going to press down. Actually, I don't want that little bit of light there. So the yacht mast goes roughly to the height there, comes up from here. So I've made a boo-boo. So I'm going to change it. I don't want it going through the house. So I'm going to take the yacht this way a bit with the rubber there and take that back so that the mast comes from here. So I go up and I'm going to pull some people don't like that noise. There's the mast. There are a few little things. There's something else there. I'm going to scratch out a bit there. And there's a line here, a scratch. A couple of masts there. There's a big mast here. And that's all the way there. So that comes from about here. And there are other things in that boat even. I mean, I'm ripping the paper. I like the texture. Mark there. There's a bit of texture on these houses. And marks there. Something on that boat there. Little nicks of light. That's all it is. Little nicks of light around the place. So, step back. Now, I'm just going to smudge all this to go back a tone or two just to accept the light. Up here, a few fingerprints, soft marks. Look at the different marks at the rubber. I'm not doing a literal interpretation of water, so I'm going to a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of light here. I'm going to pull down some light. Some marks of light. And that dinghy, well, we don't know it's a dinghy, it's just a boat or a shape for a boat. Maybe a little bit darker up there with that light, so I'll darken that roof. Just going across the whole thing. That chimney out there's too bright. So I'm going, just look, see my arm, freehand, just makes marks, brings it down a tone or two to bring out that light. And I'm just going to soften this, just it's a bit too much, so I tap it. Maybe the different sources of light up there. So overall, pull it down again. Look at that boat, totally abstract. Don't try too hard. Well, see, if you do, it sticks out. There's a ripple. I'm going to pull a ripple across here. Cross-hatching ripple. Something in the water. Maybe there's a little one there, a bird. Went across that way. And that'll do. An impression, expression, I don't know. But you can't see the pencil marks where I put the grid across it. I love charcoal. I can't help getting my mitts, covered in charcoal, but I enjoy it. Look, if you like this and the others, please don't forget to subscribe or comment or ask me questions. Drawing, painting, anything. It's my passion. I love it. And I want more people to draw and look. I want education to teach people about drawing, about looking. As I've said many times, it was one of the first involvements we got going probably a million or so years ago about what it was that we had. We had the same capabilities, but drawing and mark making. Anyway, that's enough of that, Chapman. Okie dokie, I'll turn it off. Take the tape off. Don't forget, when you take the tape off, don't go that way, pull it out that way. Look at the other videos where I explain more. Okay, cheers. So there we go. I've mounted it onto some sugar paper, taking the tape to get a lovely edge for that. Please, I fixed it before I pulled the masking tape off, because you can, it's sort of, I don't know, static or something. It can sometimes shoot bits of residue mark right across where you don't want it. Okay, so look at the angle here. Don't forget, if you want to, you can use measuring sticks. If the image is parallel, I took all of these off Google or Pinterest, and use a measuring stick to get these angles. You're looking up, so that roof, steep perspective, almost digging itself into the side of the hill. I didn't want this house here, so I left it out. I could have left out many things. I've moved and shifted some of the shapes for these houses. I've put that light a little bit just sort of in here, it's in the middle, and I've turned it slightly, the middle of the page is somewhere. Look at the marks, a wiggle, a squiggle, and the blending, the different surface that the charcoal makes. You can even see when I went right across that with the charcoal pencil to smudge that, where I dug it out with a razor blade. There is nothing wrong with putting white back on, even with a white pencil. Once it's been fixed, white does tend to go on a little bit easier. See, you can just, it's there because it fixes it. So in relationship, I mean, the Jeremy man, I've never met the bloke, I've never seen an original. The images on Pinterest or Google sometimes aren't quite correct, but I think he probably dragged out with a rubber there. He's made the cars a bit more finished, the blurry, the windows. This one down here, as I say, I don't think it's a Shura. It doesn't quite have the edge, but it could be. Everybody has a bad day, don't we? The cross-hatching marks there, up and down for the texture on the building, the little bits of light like that. I mean, look at that mark. What the hell is that? But in the context, I hope it looks like something like a boat or a barge or something. The white chalk up there, but I left the white of the paper there just to get that little bit of light in the picture. It's not imagination, artistic license. The rubbing out marks on the water here. But you'd see these marks when you look up and down. What a cross-hatching. Little sort of shapes, and then a bit of rubbing and a bit of... See, I mean, I've cleaned my hands, but it's again, I mean, the windows up and down. I'm not doing it to, represent... I have no idea what the approach... Too many words about all this stuff. Smudging for the softness back there. Okie dokie, that will do. Thank you very much.